This thing that we call failure is not the falling down, but the staying down. Mary Pickford.
This is one of the many quotes to be read aloud as you fall and lose all your progress in getting over it, and it seems to be the mantra of the game. Getting over it is crushing and unforgiving. Created by Bennett Foddy, he seems most interested in giving a truly difficult, uncompromising challenge to overcome. But the important thing here is that he wants you to overcome it. He wants you to keep trying and succeed. And I'll admit that I didn't get that when I first saw the game. Getting Over It is a metagame. It's as much about the game's creation and design philosophy as it is a game about climbing.
A funny thing happened to me as I was building this mountain. I'd have an idea for a new obstacle, and I'd build it, test it, and it would usually turn out to be unreasonably hard. But I couldn't bring myself to make it easier. It already felt like my inability to get past the new obstacle was my fault as a player rather than as a builder.
This is thanks to Bennett Foddy himself talking to you as you struggle, giving you some encouragement, some positive quotes, and his thoughts on game design. And this immediately reminded me of The Beginner's Guide. Released in 2015, The Beginner's Guide is a narrative game where its creator, David Reedon, talks to you as you explore many different small games. The final level was a cold, unwelcoming place called the Tower.
This room actually has a maze in it. Except that all the walls of the maze are invisible. And then, every time you touch one of the walls, there's this awful flashing and noise, so the experience is really miserable. The game goes beyond not being meant to be played, it actually seems to despise the player for trying to play it at all.
So my initial thoughts with Getting Over It was that it was a similar kind of game. This game was crushing and discouraging, designed to make you feel miserable playing it. The tagline of the game said this was made to hurt a certain kind of person, so maybe this was a game that wasn't meant to be played. That you're not meant to actually try to do this impossible task, and that if you're a person who wants so desperately to complete this, you're the kind of person this game wants to hurt. That you can't play this game, you should just put down the controller and get over it. But after hearing Bennett's narration while playing the game, I'm not so sure anymore. It really seems like he earnestly wants you to keep trying and eventually succeed. And so you're not getting over an unattainable success, but your repeated failures. Failure in video games is an interesting topic, and he makes a good point that in many games, failure doesn't have as much consequence.
Most obstacles in video game worlds are fake. You can be completely confident in your ability to get through them once you have the correct method or the correct equipment or just by spending enough time.
When you fail in a game like Yooka-Laylee or Breath of the Wild, you aren't losing that much. You're plopped back close to where you made your mistake and allowed to retry as many times as you want. And from that, the challenges you face, as Bennett puts it, are fate. Not every game follows this, and often those games become notorious for their difficulty. But they also reward you the greatest satisfaction for when you do finally overcome those true challenges. But the problem with constant soul-crushing failure is that it's soul-crushing. It's frustrating and angering, and while it leads to the greater payoffs, it also impedes your ability to play. You may have heard the term tilting before. It's mainly used in the context of poker or gambling, but it really does apply to video games as well. When you suffer failure, that true failure that Bennett Foddy wants you to feel, there's a shift in your emotional state. That anger and frustration changes your perception, your thoughts, and your behavior, and a challenge that you overcame easily before can become even harder, further exacerbating your mood and ability. A related idea in psychology is Yerkes-Dodson Law, otherwise known as the performance arousal curve. There exists an optimal level of arousal in which you have the best performance. If your arousal is too low, you become uninterested and bored. You lack the attention or even desire to perform the task. If your arousal becomes too high, we enter that realm of tilting where your performance suffers due to high anxiety and frustration. The biggest challenge in getting over it, the thing that this game wants to teach you about yourself, the thing that you need to get over, is this curve. Getting over it keeps you at a constant state of high anxiety, with the risk of failure and starting over always present. In fact, even from the get-go, this game may put you at an arousal level that's far past your optimal level. And then as you experience this true failure, courtesy of Bennett Foddy, you will get pushed past this point into performance degradation. You will play worse and worse and get angrier and angrier until you eventually quit because you literally cannot play the game anymore. This is both the greatest strength and weakness of uncompromisingly difficult games. It's not just that they're hard, it's that they break you down to the point that you can't play them anymore. And while this is what allows that great satisfaction at the end, it also means that for a lot of you playing the game, you really aren't enjoying it. Your performance is worse than you know you're capable of, and you see constant failure where you know you should have, and previously did, succeed. And for a lot of people, that's more than enough to just put the controller down and quit. you have better things to do than to subject yourself to this. But getting over it doesn't want you to quit. It wants you to find a way to work past this, to keep going despite of these setbacks. You can take a breather, you can even step away and stop playing for a while. But the most important thing is that you don't give up. Because this struggle with performance and arousal is something we all fight every day. And we don't always have the luxury of giving up. We have deadlines to meet, work that needs to be done, evaluations and stressful situations. The consequence of failure is high, but the consequence of giving up is life-altering. And so you can't just walk away. You have to get over it.